So I'm up at Mum's, Googie, and as you know, she's a famous quilter as well as a world-class gardener. And there have been requests for her to show how she makes her patchwork. So we're going to have a little clip of Googie making one of her log cabin quilting inspired patchwork squares. And if you're new to the channel, you're very welcome. Please subscribe, press the bell icon, and we'll tell you when we've got more clips coming up. And if any of the tips and tricks we give you along the way are useful, you can always buy me a coffee, or better still, join my club. The links to coffee buying and club joining are in the blurb to all my clips. Right, on we go. So tell us about this, Googie.
Well, this is what I work from with all beginners, and somebody has very kindly coloured it in for me. And I hope that you can see the actual amounts. Can you see 7.25 inch and
Oh yes,
7.5 and 10.25 inches? I'll show you an uncoloured one afterwards to make sure. But we're going to work from that, and there is a cutout one for you.
and your strips are 2 inches wide.
They're all 2 inches, and so you don't waste anything at all. And I've added this because when I'm a beginner, or you will be a beginner, I find it quite useful to put that as you go round. If you've cut 12 squares, so you remember where you were, because it's very, very easy to start again and go backwards.
So if you cut 12, you would put the squares in a pile, all on top of each other?
Yes.
Ah, clever. So
Well,
that way...
I cut 12 times 12. I cut out 12 quilts at a time, which is quite scary.
You're very impressive, Googie. This is my mother, who is a famous patchwork quilt maker. And she's going to show us how to make a square.
And I'm also going to show you the most beautiful pure cotton wadding.
Ooh.
Now, you can get man-made fibre wadding, but quite a lot of children, unbeknownst to their mothers, is allergic to the man-made.
Oh.
So it's much safer to use this if you can get it. Go to a quilting shop.
And or you type in online and say cotton wadding.
Cotton wadding.
Okay, and you might find some.
And well, good luck. Yes, I went to the knitting and stitching show with Georgie, and we found that, and I brought it back with glee.
Great glee.
And that's enough for 12 quilts, which I just now make for the summer.
That's fantastic. And then all your quilts, most of your quilts now go to the Linus project, don't they?
Well, yes, 10 of them go after the winter, working on them. But in the summer, I do the cot quilts, which go to the shops in September, October.
Oh, fantastic.
Because they say how many they've got left, and they're then ready for the next year.
And that's the shop up in Scotland.
Argyll and Bute. I then put them out on this table to make sure that there's no material next door to each other that's the same.
So you make so this is 12 squares.
Yes. This is 30 by 40 inches when it's edged and backed.
Yes.
And they're machine washable at 30 degrees. Don't ever arm them because it squashes.
Yes, you don't get the texture.
No.
That's fantastic.
Now, this is not quilted, obviously, because you've got to quilt it last thing before you put the back on.
Yes, no.
But it shows you more or less how you can do it.
That's amazing.
You see, these two are then repeated down there. So try and this is quite shocking, and here, like that, is quite shocking. So keep it well apart and there.
Of course.
Don't put it next door to each other, because then you have it looking a little bit too shocking.
Brilliant. So here are the 2-inch strips that you cut in advance.
Yes, ready to go. And this is enough for 12 quilts.
So when you go off to a quilting show, come back with some nice fabric, because you can't resist it. You cut out the fabric into 2-inch strips.
Yes, and to cut out more of what you want to edge it with.
Oh, clever. But the edging isn't 2 inches, or is it still 2 inches?
It's still 2 inches.
Oh, look. And then you just hang the quilts on. This is an old towel
rail.
Rail.
Yes.
Clever. And then you sew it together. Would you show us how you sew this square
Yes,
together?
I will. 2 inch, 3 inch, 9, 10 and a quarter.
Oh, that's brilliant. So this is 2 inches by 2 inches, 4 3/4 by 2 inches. All the width is always 2 inches.
And you can see that those two patterns are the same.
And that's how you make the log cabin.
But I don't do that here.
No, because
it's too simple.
you quite like playing housey housey.
Yes.
Okay, let's see it made up.
The 2 inches ones, face to face. Allow more or less the same seam. Don't go backwards and forwards. Don't bother.
Okay, so you've done about 5 mil.
Yes, and try and do the same each time. And it's a little bit crooked, but you won't notice when it's done.
Well, also, you quite like it crooked because then you don't like it to be all too straight. I know you. It makes it more artistic.
And then you can straighten up as you go. And I didn't measure this exactly, so I'm just going to trim it off. And so if you've got a little bit too much, trim it off now because it'll just...
I would get very confused if I didn't. And this is your brother's sewing machine, which you're happier with now than you were before.
It's very light though, and sometimes I go too fast and it lands in my lap. But you know, it's all part of life's rich pageant.
So you're not sewing off the ends because actually by sewing along
you're
you're
overlapping
doing it.
them.
You're overlapping it every time.
Yes, so you don't have a problem.
God, you're fast, aren't you?
But no, I'm doing it particularly slowly because you're watching. Sometimes here you need to just adjust.
I think you're pulling at the end.
I'm not going to bother to cut off that little bit.
Oh,
Pale,
here it comes.
dark, round a dark middle.
Gosh. It's like instant. And you've been doing this since I was about 10 and I'm 56.
I had an order from a lady the other day who said that I had been making them for her for 55 years.
And you
for
made
her
them...
grandchildren, and she's got just having a first great grandchild.
And you said, yes, but you'll have to take what I send you. You can't choose colours. But luckily she knows they're going to be good, so she didn't mind.
It's going straight to the baby, who has not yet got a name.
Oh,
So it's just going to baby surname,
I love that.
because it's so small.
This is... So it's the same with gardening, isn't it? It's the same with anything. It's all in the preparation. Once the prep's done, you can work quite fast. Concentration is very strong.
And also not to cut your fingers with the scissors.
Same with
I'm rather
floristry.
keen on that one.
Yeah, that's great, ladybirds.
Every now and again, don't get too fussy by too fussy. If you've got floral, don't put it by floral.
Okay.
Put definitely ladybirds by floral, and then on the other side put little snakes or something.
Or a square or
Yes,
little...
and don't put too fussy by too fussy. So, do you see how it's going?
Yeah. But also I love the bright orange in the middle.
But then you're going to then have another little bit of bright orange.
It goes exactly with your waistcoat, which you're now... Your party clothes, which you're now wearing for every day. I don't believe you're going to wear that waistcoat gardening today.
No, I'm not. I only put it on for this.
Showing off.
Well, just in case I spilt my breakfast marmalade down my front.
Yes.
It covers a multitude of sins.
We're nearly there, ladies
Yes.
and gentlemen. So this is how... And then you make 12 or 24 or... How many does a big... You're making a big quilt.
96.
96 squares for a king size. You really need a big floor
That's a
to be able
wedding
to lay
quilt.
it out. For a wedding
Wedding
quilt.
quilt.
That's amazing.
I made my last one the other day because I can't see very well. and it's for a young couple who are converting a barn. And so I did barn raising.
Quite right, because these are all
Pattern.
old log cabin inspired patterns, aren't they?
And I bought this fabric because I thought it was calf facet, but it wasn't. So it was not calf facet prices.
Oh, very
And I
good.
was very chuffed because look at it.
This is fantastic.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah, that is beautiful.
And then you finish off with your 10¼ inch bit. And then you see what I mean by not putting flowers next to flowers. And then you iron it with all the seams going in one way. You iron it on the back.
Okay, so otherwise it's too splitty. Wow, look at that. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is a patchwork square.
With a slightly crooked middle.
But you always like to make it so that it's not perfectly straight.
Yep.
Because it's more interesting to look at. You've
Now,
always done that.
Do you see the importance of busy, floral, less floral, elephants?
Yes.
Remember to do the owls the right way up. Spots. Just divide up your things. Calf facet, etc., etc.
So make sure it's not too matchy.
But it's all light cottons, not too light. Don't use Liberty Lawns. Ooh,
No, don't use lawn because it'll wear. It wears out.
yes, that's a 10¼ inch square.
There you go.
That is classic.
I'm going to show, look. So here comes the square. And then you make 12. So here's the square we've just made. And you can see how you very quickly... So this is a cot quilt size. Yeah. That's amazing.
You wouldn't know you just made it.
And then you just go back to back. So how do you, when you're going to put them together, you pile them up?
Then you add it to the wadding,
Yes.
and then you put the edges on it. It's going to have this edge.
Gorgeous.
And make sure that you don't have the edging fabric on the outside.
Yes, because it'll disappear. It'll look weird. It
And
does funny things to your
back it
eyes.
with a small floral.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Googie. That.
It's a pleasure. I have to go gardening in the pouring rain now.
Yes, don't get your pants wet. So there you are. We had to do that very quickly because there's gardening to be done and the rain is pouring, but Carol's here to give her a hand. So I think it's proper rain down the back of your trousers weather today, but not deterred. They're out to weed the big bed. Anyway, onwards and upwards. Thanks very much for visiting and I'll see you soon.